Thank you, Chair Oliva. I've been contemplating some of your answers from before, so I wanted to get just a couple more questions upon reflecting on what's been said. I want to go back to the question about funding for the building of a Pulse Memorial. I know that it wasn't considered in this bill, but my question for you is, will you consider funding for the building of a Pulse Memorial, if not in this package, perhaps in a future session, so that we can have something that the victims, the families can go back on and remember the terrible tragedy that happened in our community?
Representative Oliva.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And Representative Smith, I think that there have to be a couple things we have as part of that discussion. And if you're asking, am I willing to have that discussion, of course. We have to understand is that what kind of property we're dealing with. Is that private or public property? And then we have to have a greater discussion about, is it even advisable in our society to build memorials to these types of events? Is there a way to build memorials to the memory of people without in some way adding celebrity to these types of events? You know, that was a discussion that was had when we were crafting this bill, but it's a discussion that I'm willing to continue.
Representative Smith.
Thank you, Chair Oliva. And one final question, because I had a roundtable back in my district over the weekend with many survivors of the tragedy at Pulse, and the question that I kept getting over and over that I want a sincere and authentic answer to, which I hope you'll give me, is why now? I'm glad that we're taking action on addressing gun violence, but why are we only doing it now? How come we didn't do it after 49 people were murdered at Pulse? My community really wants to know. Why didn't the legislature act, not on terrorism, but why didn't the legislature act last year to address the epidemic of gun violence?
Representative Smith, I know that's an important topic to you, and I believe everyone in this chamber shares that sentiment with you. We're on questions on this bill. Perhaps you can bring that up at a more appropriate time and debate or offline with Representative Oliva. Representative Oliva, would you like to add?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I would hope that members can keep their questions to this bill. It is a comprehensive bill, but I understand the nature of the question. It's been asked in public numerous times. There's legitimate several reasons. No act exists on its own. And so the act that happened in Fort Lauderdale didn't exist on its own. All of these other mass shootings that we have seen didn't exist on their own. And slowly pressure builds as a result of these things. We've all heard it's the last straw that breaks the camel's back. I think to say that this particular event had a response and some other event had no response is a binary view of something that is not true. It is the accumulation of things like this that warrant action. Timing had something to do with it. We've talked about it before. We were sitting in session at the time that it occurred. But I don't want people to go away thinking that there's a greater value placed on certain lives that there are not on others. It is the accumulation of things that happen in our society that begin to move us in those directions. Is it possible, was this the last straw? Yes, but it wasn't the only straw.